All right, just told us we were live. So I'm Brent Lee, managing editor of allthingsfirstnet.com, and with me today is Dick Mergon, public safety consultant and a team member here at allthingsfirstnet.com.
Hey, Brent, ready to do the news this week?
Oh, sure, why not? You see that I'm dressed wishing I was somewhere else, like Hawaii. But thanks to what we're going through, here we are once again broadcasting from our homes. So.
But it gives us a lot of opportunities to do new and innovative things like All Things FirstNet Live, ATFN Live.
There you go. And here we are.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things we should do today is talk about, some of the reasons why we're putting some of the news stories up there, such as the T-band issue. And did you deal with the T-band issue when you were on the APCO board?
No, and I'm fully aware that you did, and it was pretty much a done deal by the time I got on the board. But there was always the talk about why it was included and what's going to happen in the future, because as we all know, there's a number of agencies and users across the country still using T-band that haven't been able to move anything else due to non-availability in other spectrums. And so I guess where I'm trying to go with this, and since you were there, why was it added to the bill, and what truly are the ramifications?
Yeah, it was added because there was a segment within Congress that wanted to extract something out of public safety to get FirstNet, and they had posed other spectrum and other things, but they wanted to give back of sorts. So somewhere somebody on the Hill thought it was a good idea to take away the T-band. Well, you just can't take away a band from public safety. You've got to give people time to migrate off of it. Who's going to pay for that migration? And so their plan, or their thinking was at that time, even though I think it was poorly thought out, as time has shown, that there would be a drop dead date for an auction of the T-band, and that the FCC, with the proceeds from the T-band auction, would pay to reallocate public safety to other bands. And so once the bill came out and it required the T-band give back, manufacturers didn't want to build T-band equipment anymore. So they had trouble getting equipment. You've got people, as you said, with spectrum constraints that didn't have anywhere to go. Even if you had the money, you still need the spectrum. FirstNet is clearly always an option, but it was never seen as a wholesale replacement for push-to-talk LMR. So that's why it was important to keep the T-band. So what has happened now is finally there's some language out there in the current bill, the $3 trillion bill, to stop the auction of the T-band, because Congress required it, so Congress has got to undo it. But if this bill doesn't go anywhere, then the T-band is still stuck looking for the T-band legislation, still stuck looking for some bill to keep the FCC from moving forward with the auction. The upside is the FCC has agreed that public safety should keep it. All the carriers have agreed that public safety should keep it. I shouldn't say all the carriers. We know that AT&T has clearly stated they support the T-band give back to public safety. Verizon has. We don't know where any other carriers currently are on it. But this is an important issue, and people have to understand that this was a small form of penance public safety was to pay to get FirstNet, but it's just not realistic.
Right, and now Chairman Pai, is kind of in between a rock and a hard spot. So he has a law that says they have to do the auction. He himself has commented about and has urging Congress to repeal the T-band. And his opinion is it won't make enough money to cover what was assumed in the first place. So even our country's own FCC is saying it probably not happen, but unfortunately, he's got to follow the law, and they're going to start setting up the auction one way or another, because if it doesn't go through, then there isn't really much of a choice.
Yeah. So as people read about the T-band thing, that's what it's all about. That's where it came from. It mostly impacts major metropolitan areas. New York City is using a lot of T-band. Chicago is. I believe LA is. Just those are some of them off the top of my head.
Boston, Detroit, Houston, and they're all like major areas. It isn't like it's in a small rural communities across the country.
Yep, exactly. So what else is out there to talk about?
Well, we've covered pretty much that. Let me bring up the site itself, and as you can see, the article about FCC's chairman, and we have AT&T asking Congress to repeal it.
So what do you know about the City of Alexandria's 911 remote call taking? You ran a 911 center, and I ran one. I think that's pretty cool, and it's past due. What do you know, and what do you think?
Well, I don't know how well it's working, but I assume it is, because it continues to function. And we both talked about this years ago, the fact that it could be done remotely. I think we talked a little bit about this last week. We all had mobile command vehicles that were doing it from there. It's no different than doing it from a home, as long as everything is properly set up and provisioned and using secure networks. There's no reason why it can't work. And unfortunately, it took this pandemic to move people out into that environment and actually use it as a primary means of service.
Yeah, so it just, to me, it kind of makes sense. You've got all this infrastructure you pay for in a 911 center. Everybody's really close together, and with pandemics, it's pretty high risk, and a lot of sharing of consoles, headsets, a multitude of things. And with all the cloud services, there is absolutely no reason why you can't work from home. Well, I shouldn't say there's no reason. The one thing that I do wonder about how they're dealing with are the NCIC NLETS requirements. That, how do you ensure that data is being kept secure and nobody else is looking over their shoulder? So I'd be curious to know how they're dealing with that.
Yeah, and I haven't heard about that either, whether they're using some messaging system back to somebody in the center that's actually doing it and forwarding the information, or if they've come up with some kind of waiver or something that allows them to do it. But it's, it looks like it could be the norm for a while, doing things that way. And it's nice to see they're stepping out and being a leader in it, and could probably be used in a number of places across the country.
Yeah, because how many times do we have staffing issues because of daycare and family life? And to be able to have somebody work from home to where they could maybe log out for an hour to put the kids to bed, whatever the family issue may be, as long as you can manage the number of people who are logged in to take and dispatch calls, you got a lot of flexibility in staffing. And there was a study 20 years ago that said people who work from home tend to work more and harder because of that environment. And there was a new article here just last week saying the same thing, that productivity in a lot of these companies have actually gone up since they've got people working from home. Well,
I can tell you that I just recently upgraded my internet, and when I was talking to the representative of the company I use, that person indicated that they were working from home and have been for quite some time, and it hasn't changed the way things are being done with their company or anything else. So, the private world's doing it. No reason why the public world can't be doing it too.
Think about some of the management issues this resolves, such as who ate my lunch out of the refrigerator? So-and-so didn't fill the coffee pot. Nobody cleaned up, and the kid, really, there's a lot of trivial stuff that you and I both know is everyday occurrence that no longer becomes a problem.
Right. I agree. Certainly.
Yeah, well, that was good to see. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out over time.
So let's see what else we can hit really quick here. Sonim, recent press release here, they have now released an upgraded or a newer kit.
Oops, didn't squelch my phone.
There you go. Yeah, as you know, Sonim's been involved almost from the get-go with FirstNet. They've been accepted as a provider of equipment, and this most recent press release indicates that they've partnered with Cradlepoint, Inmarsat, JPS interoperability, and for those of you who haven't heard that name, Inmarsat, that's a satellite company. Dick, you and I talked to them early on in the process, and it's interesting to see that they're finally in the news with us here.
Yeah, I mean, Inmarsat's a good company. They've got a product that is very usable by public safety. They struggle as a company being able to connect with public safety because that is not within their normal day-to-day wheelhouse. But so you don't see a lot of marketing or advertising on it. But a great company, great company.
Right, and like I said, Sonim's been around for a while, and it seems like they're got some diversity in the things they're doing and reaching out to other companies and working together that way.
So you were a private pilot at one point, and you understand the importance of GPS, and people are going to wonder where I'm going with this, but we'll find out here shortly. So can you imagine flying today and your GPS being off by several feet?
Nah. Well, that's altimeter, but yeah, modern equipment does fly with GPS a lot, and there'd be nothing worse than thinking you're somewhere and landing at the wrong airport because the information you got was just not correct.
Right. So how that relates to public safety is there's a company out there that is now known as, look at my notes here, I think it's Ligado. Yeah, Ligado, Ligado, Ligado.com. They formerly were Skyterra and LightSquared. This is another battle on the APCO board. I remember some very clear meetings with those folks. The frequency that they operate in is so close to GPS frequencies, it was interfering with it. They did tests on airports, pilots did tests, we did tests in public safety, and when you corrupt that signal, not only do you get a bad location, but what happens on a P25 side is it can mess up the clock and the timing. And P25 systems have to have a GPS clock sync to get the signal to sync and propagate properly through the network. So this company is back. They've got approval from the FCC to deploy, but they have not reached out to public safety. They have not tried to provide any information related to public safety. I'm going to argue they did this under cover of night. But I think they still have a problem, and that's why they did it behind the curtain. And they have a social responsibility to not only connect with public safety, but the aviation community. And again, you're not going to see us talk about a lot here on all things FirstNet, since it's not normally in our bailiwick. But I spent some hours, and Brent, I don't know if you did when you're on the APCO board, but a lot of hours spent trying to understand this issue and keep them from harming the GPS receivers that we depend on today.
I agree. And, a lot of people don't know, you mentioned P25 systems, but, when you're talking about multicast or simulcast systems, the timing is what it's all about. With the overlap of coverage, if you don't have that timing, those systems are basically, in my opinion, worthless. You're going to have constant interference problems, nobody hearing anything, one simulcast site fighting with the other because it's not synced under the GPS. So it certainly was an issue years ago, and I'm sure it still is today for anybody using those systems.
Yeah, exactly. Probably should note, we should probably mention we got some new videos out there. We got one interview with Zebra. What else do we have?
Well, let me zing through them here really quick. That's the most recent one on this site, but we've got some things lined up with some others. And for our other site, allthingsecc.com, shortly we'll be having a new video interview with a representative from Schedule Express on the All Things ECC side. As you know, they provide, what's the word I'm looking for?
Automated scheduling.
There you go. Let's get rid of the old pen or pencil and, marking X's on days off. And it's basically completely automated. So all you need is one person to put in any kind of schedule changes, or not schedule changes, but personnel changes. And other than that, it's also has rules in it where you can define such things as union issues and who gets to bid for overtime first, and all those things come into play. It's all automated. They sends messages to your phone. Actually, when they first came out, it was sending messages to pagers, but as you know, very few people other than the medical world use those anymore. So looking forward to that conversation. I've heard from their representative that they're going to have one of their users also on the video talking about how well it works for them.
Excellent. That should be good information. So I think
for this site too, and so let's see, does it meet part of that FirstNet app system? So in times of emergencies or major disasters, and you're looking to call out people, whether it's police, fire, EMS, or communications personnel, I think it belongs on this site too. So we'll broadcast it, or not broadcast it, but post it on this site also.
Yeah, excellent. So as we wrap up here, let's talk about the last thing that's not in the news yet, but will be, and that's T-Mobile. And for our viewers here, let me put this in context. The context is this. FirstNet is your network, funded by $7 billion from Congress, asked for by public safety, built for public safety, designed by public safety, and has a public safety advisory committee. It has also got an independent board of directors made up of first responders. And one of the things we've always known is we are a threat to normal carriers, the Verizons, T-Mobile, fundamentally even AT&T on the commercial side, that we were going to draw people away from those networks. But we need our own network. Being on a commercial network just doesn't work for us, and it doesn't give us the security we need, doesn't give us the dedicated spectrum, doesn't give us priority and preemption. So we built our own, and that's FirstNet. Well, we also knew at the time that these carriers were going to do extreme things to try and win back public safety. And it wasn't so much about winning public safety. It was about trying to keep FirstNet from being a success. And I think everybody would agree FirstNet has been a huge success. Even Congress would agree with that. And so now they're kind of panicking. Well, what T-Mo has done in their panic mode is they're offering free service to public safety. Well, free comes with some caveats. Free, based on the information that's been out there, is a limited number of phones. And free also is limited bandwidth. Now they're saying unlimited data, but their bandwidths are slower than FirstNet. There's no priority, no preemption. There's no discussion on security. And so in effect, they're saying, hey, we'll come into your agency and give you a couple of free phones, but you got to pay for the rest. Well, one, where does that make any sense? And two, if it's free, how good is it? How reliable is that signal? Is that network? It's smoke and mirrors. And this is as much to harm FirstNet as it is to actually not anything else. They're trying to. This is a move against FirstNet. I'm sure we'll get more information. Like I said, they just announced it today. They've been doing pre-announcements since November. But again, read the fine print, because it talks about unlimited data. But for an extra, if you're on the free plan, for $15 a month, you can get up to 20 megabits of data. Well, hold it. Why do you have an upgrade path for data if you're telling people it's unlimited? It's just,
Well, like you said, it's all about money, and that's why they do it that way. It's the hook to say it's free, but it's only partially free. We all know that.
right.
So,
But my message to T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon: you had your chance. I mean, everything from before we went after the D block in the legislation, we asked you to give public safety priority and preemption, and you stood in front of representatives from the White House and Biden's staff at the time and said, we as commercial carriers will not do it because that would be a disservice to our commercial users. And now you've changed your mind. You all had a chance to bid on FirstNet itself, and you didn't, and you've all changed your mind. So, you can't have a do-over, and trying to undermine FirstNet by offering free service. Public safety is going to catch on. There'll be people who'll do it because it's free, absolutely. But the first time that disaster hits and that tower goes down and you can't get a deployable to do it, or you've got a riot in your town and you can't get on the network, free will be just exactly that, free, worth exactly nothing.
Ryan, you make a good point about the deployables, which have been used through this pandemic across the country and to provide FirstNet service. It was the guarantee to public safety. It was, priority and preemption using those devices, not interfering with anybody else's network, not interfering with AT&T's own network when it comes to providing service to the general public. So I don't know that anybody can beat the fact that they're there, and they're providing more and more deployables all the time and looking at different deployables, flying cows, balloons, a number of different things to keep providing that separate, pure public safety access.
Right. And the other thing that is a nuance, but it's an important nuance, is Band 14 FirstNet can do high power, HPUE. And so that having those high power sites is going to help with building penetration. It's going to help in rural areas. There are just so many things FirstNet can do that no other carrier can do. Let's put it this way. Their public safety offering is so bad, they have to give it away.
That's a good way to end it. All right. Having said all that and used up a pretty good amount of time here, we'll remind you that we're going to try and do these at least every week and talk about FirstNet in the news, and hopefully have some guests here as we move forward to talk about things, especially if they're in it. So the site, once again, allthingsfirstnet.com, and a little information on how we're doing it. This is being broadcast live on our All Things FirstNet Facebook page, and it'll be put on the All Things FirstNet site hopefully later today. Dick, do you have anything more to add?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks for spending some time with me and our audience and having a conversation.
All right. Thanks again.